Today we are joined by Captain Garri Yury Tabach. He's a retired U.S. Navy officer and a prominent voice on transatlantic security, NATO affairs, and U.S.-Ukraine relations. As the first Soviet-born citizen commissioned as an officer in the U.S. Armed Force, he brings a uniquely personal and strategic perspective to the Russia-Ukraine war, American foreign policy, and the future of democratic alliance. You are most welcome, and we are honored to have you, Captain.
Maria, this is a great honor for me. I've been following you for a long time, in my programs in Russian language also, and I believe in English too, on Israeli TV, where sometimes I'm a guest. I've quoted you what you've said, and now there we go. God works in amazing ways.
Yeah, but now we won. There is no Nasrallah anymore. Yeah, it was.
Yeah. Well, this is the first. This is the first time. Long time ago. I said, why is this Arab woman is the only one that's brave enough to what we the soldiers, we the warriors should be doing? Why is she doing it for us? That we should be ashamed. I remember saying this. And I quoted you that Nasrallah needs to be eliminated and needs to be, and in your words, needs to be killed. We're Americans. We say eliminated, neutralized, all this stuff. Killed. He should be killed, shall be killed. And he was, thank God, he was.
But there is a long way now for to have a free Lebanon. We're going to talk about it, but let's focus. Thank you for showing and having all this knowledge about the Middle East. I know you have as someone born in Soviet Union who later served at the U.S. Navy, Captain, how does your personal journey shape your perspective on Ukraine-Russia war?
Well, I've served in Russia several times at the embassy, and I was a NATO representative to Russia from NATO. So I knew how Russians operate. I was also very much involved during Abkhazian-Georgian conflict, and I saw how Russians were operating there. And of course, I saw the way Russians were operating in Yugoslavia during their civil war. I knew how dirty they are. I knew how not trustworthy they are. And also, I led the inspections of nuclear, biological, and chemical facilities in Russia, Ukraine and Kazakhstan and Belarus, and I also knew how they, how corrupt and they could be cheating. So when the war started in Ukraine in 2014, my best buddy died, and I went to Israel and I leaned against the Wailing Wall and I said, "God, help me, guide me. What should I do now? I lost my eyes, I lost my hands, I lost my heart with this guy." His name is Daniel. And I opened up my eyes and there was a note saying, how people put notes in the wall, talking to God, requesting God for help. And I see that it says there, pray for Ukraine. And I decided that, I've been prepared. I've been getting ready all my life to fight the Russians, to fight the communists, to fight those things. And this is why I joined the Navy when I heard President Reagan talking about evil empire, and I knew how evil they were. So I decided to go to Ukraine and take a wounded soldier out of there, a paratrooper that I knew.
Wow.
And from there on, I spent about half of my time in Ukraine. Since 2014.
So since you are so close to the MAGA movement and Trump world and Trump like the way of thinking, do you see why you're laughing? I see Trump 2028 in the back. So we hope Trump 2028. But let me focus on your assessment on President Trump approach to Ukraine war compared to previous administration.
Well, this is what happened. When President Biden took office, and the Russians, of course, did not miss the chance, Putin, a KGB thug, did not miss a chance to attack Ukraine. Of course, President Biden said, if it's going to be a small invasion, it's okay. If it's not a big invasion, instead of taking our troops, what has been done under President Trump, into Ukraine, conducting exercises there like sea breeze exercise, keeping our fleet in the Black Sea. President and the Russians didn't do anything. As a matter of fact, under President Bush, Russians left Georgia that way because he took our fleet into the Black Sea. President Biden took our fleet out. He took our embassy out, which we haven't done even in Iraq or Afghanistan. We haven't done that during World War II from Great Britain or Russia when the Germans were only a few miles away, a few kilometers away from Moscow. So when you do that, you kind of open up the gate and you say, okay, come on in. We're not going to do anything. And then the Lend-Lease comes in, and by supermajority, our Congress, American people vote for Lend-Lease for Ukraine, and President Biden does nothing. When Prigozhin, a soldier of fortune, criminal, is advancing into Moscow to President Biden gives orders not to conduct any military advances against Russians to Ukrainians. Let Putin settle. So I'm saying to myself, why is this happening? And the final nail was there was an ambassador U.S. ambassador to Ukraine, Maria Yonovich, who was really fighting Trump. She was very anti-Trump, which to me, and I've been stationed to 4 embassies, and I worked for 5 ambassadors. It's a president, a United States president in that country. That's who the ambassador is. Why is she? I'm being told
she's
that
against
she goes.
the foreign policy of the administration. She was
It's beyond that. I'm told, I haven't heard her say that, but I was PNG'd out of embassy. I mean, I was a guest of honor at the Marine Bowl, and then she says she crossed me out and says, no, I'm not invited. Why? Because I'm told on all the TV shows there that I was invited to, that your ambassador is saying that we shouldn't cooperate with President Trump because he's going to be impeached any day. So there's no point in it. So I said, no, she can't be saying that. She is President Trump in the country. So eventually she was removed. But then when President Biden ordered, after our shameful and treacherous withdraw from Afghanistan, betraying our allies, betraying our friends, leaving Americans behind. It was very discouraging for me. And then
that was a scandal. Yeah,
it was terrible. Nobody wants to be part of losers.
Yeah.
And then when we withdrew our embassy from Kyiv, opening up Ukraine for an attack. I mean, yeah, we didn't attack them, but we took the lock off the gate.
Yeah, you just encourage Putin. But
yes, we could have had our exercise there. We could have had our fleet in Black Sea. We could have kept our embassy there. Everybody followed us, escaping, keeps opening it up for bombings. But
President Trump said all the time that if he was president, the war wouldn't happen.
Right. No, absolutely. It would have never happened. And what hit me the hardest, Maria, was this. In 1992, I was traveling with Ambassador Salgo, best friend of President Reagan, and I was his assistant opening up embassies in all of the former Soviet republics, and Ukraine was one of them. And at that time, they hired FSNs, Foreign Service Nationals, that are helping to run the embassy, but they're local hire. And one of the things they do is security. They provide, outside of security, directing people in lines, making sure, checking on our housing and things like that. And the first guy that was hired, one of the first guys, his name was Alexander. And I remembered him. He's a good-looking, big Ukrainian guy, and very, very professional. So this is 1992. Now, this is 2022. So it's 20 years later. He remembers me and he has my telephone number. He calls me up in February of 22 when the war started. 2 days later, I'm in Ukraine at the time. I'm still in Kyiv, and the Russian tanks are very close. Russian armor already gets into Kyiv. He calls me up and he says, Captain, they just left us here without money, They didn't take us with us. They just left us behind. I said, they cannot be. We don't do that. Especially you. You've served for 20 years. You could become an American citizen after, I think, 20 years or so. Apply for a green card. He says, no, they just left us. They didn't pay us. They just left us all. And I'm a senior security manager for FSNs, Foreign Service Nationals. He says, and I don't know what to do. I don't have anyone to call. The only person I know how to reach is you.
Yeah, I heard.
And I felt like we have just betrayed our American ways, betrayed our friends, the guys who were providing our security for us, guys who people who provide food for us, people who were cleaning our embassies, people that did so much and drive us around. And all of a sudden we just dropped them and left them like in Afghanistan.
Exactly the same way they did.
Thank God I had a friend, very good friend, very good man, who's a high-level State Department official. I served with him in Moscow, in Russia, and I just called him. I picked up the phone and I called him and I said, buddy, this is not right. This is not us. I'm not leaving Ukraine. Because they were wanting me to leave Ukraine as well. I said, then I'm going to stay with those FSNs, and I'm retired. I'm old. And I said, this is not, and he said, Yuri, he called me Yuri. He says, Yuri, I'm working on it. Trust me, I'm working it. It's a mistake. It's a huge mistake. What we did, we're going to correct that. And thank God they did correct it. And then the Russians, thank God, also pulled out of Kiev, and these people were safe because they would have been the first one to be. And this is why I got so involved in it. And I started to say, we're as Americans. I pledged the allegiance to the United States twice. Once as a new citizen, naturalized it. Second time as an officer. So I wasn't gonna back out of it. And this is
good. You have these feelings toward Ukraine. How do you see President Trump reaching peace in this regard, and how his way of dealing in this war can accelerate peace talk? And do you think he will succeed?
Well,
especially his relationship with Putin, sometimes putting fear Trump a little bit, no?
Yes, I think you're absolutely correct. I think Putin only holds in regard one individual in the world. He disregards everybody else. He doesn't care. The only one he thinks or he believes he has to listen to or talk to is President Trump, no one else. Of course, he thinks that President Obama, who put veto on lethal weapons that our Congress allowed in 2014 for Ukraine to get, and then only President Trump lifted it in 2016 when he became a president. And this is what Ukrainians got, and they were able to repel with those weapons, with Stingers and Javelins, the Russian attack. So he realizes that President Trump is the one who has been dealing with all kinds of people, government bureaucrats, mafias, corrupt individuals. Being a builder in New York and being a developer in New York, you deal with all kinds of people. And for 10 years, they've been trying to dig up dirt on him. They can't dig anything up on him. So it means the man is a saint, really. I think if they would dig so deeply on me, they would find a lot of stuff. But for him, I mean, how could the man be a developer, in New York and haven't done anything wrong? So I think he's a winner. President Trump is a winner. And
unstoppable. He's like...
Right. And I think all of us, people who to whom, like you and I, who are naturalized citizens, to whom freedom and liberty is not just empty words, that we fight for it. You risk your life by only calling, I couldn't imagine a little lady like you calling Nasrallah to be killed. They're chasing you all over the world trying to punish you for that. So that is a very brave thing to do. And I think we want to be on a team with a winner. Nobody wants to be on a team with a loser. I can prove it by saying to you of our recruiting.
I can't stand Democrats coming back to power because it's like you are dead. You have no.
Well, it's because you and I we lived through that. We lived under so-called Democrats, in fairness and social justice
Oh my God.
We don't want that. We see that,
But
unfortunately, many
how do you see
Americans don't.
Iran's involvement in Ukraine and how this conflict she is involved regarding drones and also maybe some alliances kind of with
You
Russia?
mean with the Russians?
Yeah.
Iranians, sure. But I want to finish the thought that I'm saying I can prove that we're on a team of a winner by recruiting numbers in our military. After the failure in Afghanistan, we couldn't recruit anybody. Our recruitment was done. Nobody wanted to be in our armed forces. Nobody wants to be a loser. But now, as President Trump came in, we overdid our recruitment. We already recruited into the November. We are not even taking anyone, because we already filled up all the slots more than needed.
Wow.
So why? Because young men and young women
They need
out of high
leadership.
school, they want to be part of the winning team.
And
We
the
all want to be part of the winning team. So President Trump is a winner, and he has accomplished a lot, considering that everybody's trying to fight him, considering that he's the only one. Europeans don't want it. Putin doesn't want it. Zelensky doesn't really want it to end the war. The only individual who wants to end this war, to stop the killing, mass killing, is President Trump. And he has been successful in many countries to do that. But as he says, he didn't expect it to be that difficult in Ukraine, because
Why?
Ukrainian media, and this is what I've been fighting, in Ukrainian media, the entire Ukrainian media associated with Ukraine for 10 years, for a decade, been, as they say, you plug in coffee maker, you plug in an iron, and you will hear Trump is the enemy. Trump is a Russian agent. Trump works for Putin. Trump hates Ukrainians. Trump is a rapist. Trump is stealing. He's a thief. He's all this Trump propaganda, kind of like Goebbels propaganda in Germany, or the Islamist propaganda in Iran, Afghanistan, and so forth, when people don't hear anything else. And I think I was the only one that was in Ukraine itself, defending President Trump's position, saying, no, that is not true. What you're saying is a lie. What you're saying is a fake. One day, a day after, every day. So I think
I
that,
saw tweets of you that are all on social media. You believe that it's a war, effective war, a battlefield to go through. I mean, do you think this is effective, like fighting in social media and telling the truth about Trump, real person, real leader?
well, I mean, what else can we do? I can't fight with a gun,
Yeah,
anymore.
of course.
So I fight this way, the only way I can do it. And because I was pronounced persona non grata in Russia, and I held security clearances in the United States, I have some credibility. And a lot of Ukrainian generals and soldiers and officers and just good people, regular people who work every day in Ukraine, they do listen to it. They do disagree with the media. They do not trust. Just like in the United States, we don't trust CNN anymore, or New York Times, or anything. This is all fake, and this is what in Ukraine. But what happened there, it was understandable, because Ukraine was, and still is infected with Soros organizations.
Yeah, just like Lebanon as well.
It's terrible. And the USAID. Well, now the Soros organizations dried out a little bit. That cow of USAID, President Trump has sacrificed, and we ate it. That's done. So they dried out on funds for it. But now Newsmax is coming to Ukraine, and they're all just converted. The metamorphosis happened immediately.
Chris Roddy gonna give the good picture, yeah?
Immediately, even though they I keep saying, now you're working for Newsmax, and you completely changed your story. Now Trump is not the evil. He is not the devil. He's not the. Now all of a sudden you're inviting me to the programs, everything. You're trying to be objective. It's hard. So of course it
So
reminds me, Maria, when I was stationed in Moscow, and there's an embassy, U.S. embassy in Moscow, and there is a very busy street in the center of a city, and across the street there were always protests against Americans. There were these people would stand there and they protested down with America and the capitalists, and things like this. Then a big American SUV, Chevrolet or something, will come up. They will put all their posters there and organizedly march to the bus that brought them there to protest. And I always wanted to open up a window and say, hey, you guys, the first stand that make it across the street will get a visa to the United States. And
they
I bet
also
you they would get into a fight and they would run across right in front of the cars and the buses and the trucks. They will do it. And I feel that this is the same thing with the Ukrainian media. You know, as soon as the Newsmax says we're coming in and you're not going to be fed anymore by the USAID or Soros's organization, they're all running there, and now everything's hunky dory. But of course, there needs to be a lot of work done with the Ukrainian officials, with the Ukrainian parliamentarians, and telling them that no, President Trump is the one that's trying to help you. President Trump is the one that can help you. No one else can help you. And it is idiotic for you to insult him all the time and to attack him all the time unfairly, not just because it's not smart. I mean, we went to universities. Before the exam, did any one of us came up to a professor and said, hey, professor, you're an idiot, you're stupid, and you're ugly, and all? No, none of us did that, because then we would flunk the exam. Or we went to get a job. We don't tell them your company is idiotic, you're thieves, you're this and that. You'll never get the job. Why do you do that? The only man that can help you and can save you, you do that to him. That is bizarre. I mean, it's not bizarre,
it's like
but
unethical, because he's the president. He was elected. They didn't elect him for nothing. He was elected.
by landslide,
Yeah.
by the American people.
I don't want this interview to end, but I have last question. Many believe that your experience, like I start to believe this, that you fit for a diplomatic role in Ukraine. Would you consider serving as U.S. ambassador to Ukraine if called upon?
You know, ambassador is it's a very difficult job, and being an ambassador to a warring nation, actually, I don't really understand how a country can fight a war and your biggest ally, your biggest source of survival does not have an ambassador. How do you keep the lines of communication? How do you check on the money that we send there? How do we keep tabs on it? And when President Trump talks about $350 billion, disappearing somewhere there, most of it didn't even make it to Ukraine. This is because there's a lack of leadership. There's a lack of representation of our policymakers. And it has nothing to do with Democrats or Republicans or with President Trump or not, but we have to all march in the same direction. So in a warring nation, being an ambassador or being a president, being a little Trump in that country is very dangerous. It's not going to be thankful. It's kind of a kamikaze job. But I feel that I want to be on the President Trump's team. And if he picks me to do anything, to drive him around, I'll do it. If he picks me if he would honor me with joining his team in any capacity, I will be gladly do it, and I would volunteer for it myself. Yes, I think that probably because I've spent so much time in Ukraine, because according to Ukrainian security forces, I'm the most recognized American in Ukraine, which it should be the American ambassador that should be the most recognized American in any country. I think I probably could do it, but there are obstacles, there are difficulties with those things, and I think Ukrainians need to deserve to have our ambassador, whether it's me, whether it's somebody else, but it needs to be a very strong individual, an individual who understands something about war, fighting, and understands what Russia is, or be part of a subject, like the way you are about Lebanon. So I've spent my career dealing with the former Soviet Union. In the last 10 years, I've been in Ukraine, spending half of my time. Of course, I have many contacts, I have many people that I try to tell them that President Trump idea is good. He's trying to help him, help you. And this is the only way we can do it. And God will help those that helping themselves. He's not going to help them, but President Trump.
Yeah.
So this is, I think this is an important position. I think it is very difficult one. It's very complicated because of the war, because of the disaster that is going on. But I think it is very important to have someone there, because we're going to invest so much money there, because we're going to bring so much. We're going to put so much effort into it.
Yeah.
So there needs somebody who will be an American that will put America first.
Yeah, and this is why I'm gonna say thank you for your loyalty, and really thank you for your service, your clarity, and I wish you all the best and good luck.
So, Maria, can I return a favor? Could I invite you to my program with also Maria Maksakova, who's a famous opera singer? We have a joint program when we invite American guests. So if you would honor us.
Of course, absolutely. We're gonna do it. We're gonna make Lebanon great again. Yeah. Ukraine great again. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.